week that Mint City and Wolves, being me, and a bunch of others, we were just out of hand. And they like listened for a while, and then they were like, "Nah, we can't join this. This is not a real space." And I had to like do damage control and say, "No, we're legit. Like we actually do cover real topical conversation, and we do try add value." And yeah, so so what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to tone down how much ridiculous inside joke banter we roll with in spaces, and maybe tackle a couple of topics first, and then we loosen it up, reset the room, and do a bit of trolling and have a bit of fun. um, I'm loving that there's some hands up. It's so tempting to go into old habits and say we're not going to listen to you because your hands are up.
Well,
um,
real quick before I relinquish the microphone, I was not going to be disruptive. I was going to ask serious gaming questions, and then when Sunshine started speaking right over the top of me, I'm like, "Oh, this son of a bitch set me up." And
no, but I can hear in Sunshine's voice that she's genuinely interested in the space and is not
Absolutely,
trolling.
absolutely, Mint. There is no surprise in it. I'm
Cool.
genuinely interested in this space. That's for sure.
Awesome, awesome. I've got some hands up. So this is a good way to roll in the topical conversation because people end up waiting forever for a chance to speak if they're not like super pushy with topics. So I like to do this. I think Dandy had a hand up first, and then it was between Dobin and Adolf, and I just let them fight it out. But Dandy, go first.
Well, I just want to say, yeah, I've noticed with a lot of spaces that get too out of hand, they don't stay on a topic. They do kind of lose a little bit more of their followers or what could be their bigger people who want to actually pay attention, especially when they're looking for the information about a project that's being worked on, what you're into, what you're trying to do. They're in there waiting for that certain information that they're waiting for, and it's all just craziness and stupidness, and they're like, well, do I really want to be a part of this? Yeah, then you start losing people after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the important thing is to do the crazy spaces like on their own designated slot so that no one gets mixed up on what they are. Because it's really fun sometimes to just banter and hang out. But yeah, they can get out of hand, and we do have really cool things to talk about as well that we don't want to just kind of lose. Ada Dolphin put the hand down, so I'm going to let Ada Dolphin jump in, and then straight to my friend Dobin later.
Sheesh. How you doing, Ka? I mean, Wolves.
I love how I passed it to Ada Dolphin, and Dobin's like, yeah, I'm going to take this opportunity to chat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going.
absolutely. I do have a quick question. So I hear you talk about like adding value and stuff in the spaces. Uh, you were mentioning us by any chance?
Did I mention you?
Yeah, like shitty space and stuff. Like, are you were talking about dolphin space, like talking trash and trolls and stuff? Because we don't see
what
you.
are you talking about, Tobin?
No, I came today to Dolphin Space, and I
I didn't
requested that
see you, bro. I didn't
I
see you
You,
request
there.
I'm
It's
I
been
rugged.
a
requested
while.
the I requested the mic, and I came up, and then Min City just unleashed all holy hell on me, and then I went back to listen.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
we
brought.
sorry. We love you. That's why.
Hey, the thing about it is, I was trying to say, but I was at the store. But if somebody just judges you because you're having fun in a space, they're too serious to be completely honest. Because like I don't ever put like people want to have fun. Like you have a project doesn't mean that you have to be walking around looking like Mark Zuckerberg and shit. Like it's all cool, bro. Like we could laugh, all that type of shit. I still fuck with the project. I still play the game. I still tell people to get in on the alpha test. So I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you. I think the thing is when you set a precedent of having a very topical space, and in the same slot, and this is maybe the mistake that we went into. I had fun doing it, so we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna have a separate slot for our crazy space, and we'll just have it, and everyone will know what it is. But when you set a precedent, and we worked on like a 1 week on, 1 week off system, and I think some people were really actually, the numbers might have been lower on the topical spaces, but I think quality conversation was solid, right? And so people started coming for that, and then when they got there, they didn't know what they'd walked into when they got the alternate week. So yeah, I hear you. Like I'm still very much intent to just enjoy ourselves on spaces. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to split them up into two different spaces, which is great because my wife's going to love me. Taking another 1.5 hours out of my evenings. That was sarcasm, in case anyone didn't pick that up. But yeah, so that's it's going to be better for the project and just better for us. Then we know what we're getting into. Mint City Mike doesn't have to come up and ask like, wait, hold on, are we choosing violence today, or are we topical, right? So you just know what you're getting into. I see Reaper's got a hand up and Ada Dolphin's got a hand up, so let's go in that order.
Yeah, since you mentioned what I was talking about before, I just wanted to say that it was Ideopa's though.
Sorry, guys, there was a bit of I think background noise there. I'm not sure where it was coming from. But Reaper, if you want to try again. He might have kids with him or something. He'll circle back, I'm sure. Ada Dolphin, do you want to go for it?
Legit, brother, I have to give you credit, right? Number one, Dobin and I were just talking about this. We're on the phone. We see you running a space. We go, let's bomb it, right? And I think for you, unfortunately, what you have is you have the responsibility of being the head of a project, right? So people hold you to a bit of a higher expectation. I mean, I'm pretty sure I single-handedly have logged the most host hour spaces in this ecosystem, bar none, for the year, right? And honestly, the vibe we created was not that at all, right? So I feel that when you and I showed up in that space, Wolves, I felt like that was like, oh, I've been waiting for this for 7 months. Now, did we put it into 6th or 7th or 8th gear and maybe take that one a little bit too far? Sure, but as was mentioned earlier, right? But like, if somebody doesn't have a sense of humor, I have like, we're just not going to jive on a daily basis, let alone in business, right? Like, if we can't laugh and it's always got to be serious and 100% like down to the T, like, we're just very, very, very different people. But I agree with you because, we never know who's going to be in that room, right? We never know who's going to show up. We never know what person we're going to meet that day. And I think we do have a responsibility as, voices within this ecosystem, and we do have to hold our
thing to happen. You think some miracle will come down to you. So that was really
Yeah.
surprising for me. Wolves.
Yeah.
That was the people, they don't trust their own projects, and they have million of thoughts going on and about how they are going to build a project, but they don't have that patience that, yeah, you have to bring it like to a level and then actually evaluate yourself. But they don't do that, Wolves. And I'm
Yeah.
really
Well,
disappointed with it.
yeah, luckily we're lucky in the bear market. The most active people are the people doing it, so that's impressive. I mean, like, I look around, I see projects that I know. The ones that are still going
Yeah,
now through
Wolves,
this
you're doing
time,
a very, very good job to make a awareness kind of thing inside the gamers and the NFTs player. You're doing a great job. Thank you,
thank
Wolves.
you, appreciate it. Kagan's got a hand up. Don't want to keep you waiting. How's it going? Welcome to the space.
Hey, brother. Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, man, I'm on the road and I saw Rich, so I jumped in. But listening to you guys talk, right, just kind of mowing it over. And first, I would like to encourage you guys to stop calling everything a project. You guys are drilling on the importance of a business model, and anybody, that's part of the ecosystem that genuinely is chasing after value and trying to bridge the gap between virtual and IRL, utilities, the whole 9 yards. You have to separate the word business and what it represents as an individual business owner and a project like an art project. Like, great, you got an art project, but do you have a business? Right. And I think that would be good to start solidifying and helping people uh, differentiate between just creating a piece of art. And I don't mean that to shun it, but I'm just saying to distinguish between an actual business. Like, hey man, not what is your project, like what is your business model, like what is your business made up of, what is your business goals. And you have to treat it like you're going to be talking to VCs one day with big money. Like, you're not going to walk into an office with high end people and be like, hey, what's your project about? No, like, they want to know going into it a little bit about your history, like what's your business, what your numbers looking like, what are your goals. And y'all really need to focus on the business thing. And to touch on what Dolphin kind of got drug into, and I'm thinking about you guys burning yourselves out hosting spaces, listening to some people like, yeah, I burnt out, I left, I came back, hosting spaces. You're talking about the value of being a influencer, right? A source of contact for the community to go through. You're a mediator, you're a liaisons. And if you guys would just take the time to go one-on-one as a team, because part of our ecosystem is bridging and bringing people together and being the I know a guy, if like Rich and I were talking, if everybody was like, I know a guy, and we brought each other together, it would grow. But if you have like two guys, right, one is a dedicated influencer or a dedicated reference point, and then you have, say, a company that does a service for NFT people, right? They should come to an agreement and be like, hey, I don't want you to starve and do this for nothing, because time is money, right? That that's a big thing. So if a person can I don't even I hate to do this, guys, but I just want to be clear on my point. Say, for instance, uh, Mike and Rich decided to do a business deal together, right? And just hypothetically, Mint City's like, hey, Dolphin, we got a great thing going. Let's go into business together to an extent. Even if it's a minuscule amount of ADA, like per mint, like there's a small ADA accruing for Dolphin, through the services that Mint City provides. Only only the companies that are going to them and looking to use them as a platform to help them establish their business, right? I'm not saying, hey, you got to share the world with somebody, but if you're working as a business partner, a little bit of compensation goes a long way just to have something going, because essentially we're mirroring what happens in reality. Just like all these guys that go out and try to make deals with individual families, these insurance people, life insurance, whatever the case may be, there's a small amount of money that gets pushed back into the salesman's pocket, and things like that to keep them going. So I would encourage you guys to kind of mow that over as a topic. Like, how can we make this financially beneficial for our business partners? It doesn't have to be 100 ADA. It could be something stupid like a variable change depending on the price of ADA. If there was a calculator, so if somebody developed a tool that said, right now one ADA is 50 cents, right? Have a variable change for the dollar value. Like, all right, I'm going to give Rich, like $3, per NFT, or I'm going to give Rich $1, or 50 cents. That way there's something going. And I'm not talking about being ridiculous with the numbers. I'm talking about something minuscule, because a bunch of transactions add up to a lot of ADA. But I
And it's
just
the
wanted to give
principle,
that to you
right?
guys as a thought.
It's also the principle, right? If two parties are working together and there's benefit, in principle, whether it's a meaningful amount or not, in principle, that should be a shared benefit, right? That's something that both people
Right,
work
brother.
towards. And so, yeah, I hear you, man. And I love the talk about it like a business. Like I'm careful sometimes about saying businesses, because when it comes to Cardano or when it comes to NFT projects, I'm just trying to use a term that like people identify with. But definitely, when
Oh,
you're
for
looking
sure.
at,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. It's not
yeah,
normal what I'm talking about doing. I'm just talking about trying to elevate, the system into the next level of distinguishing. Because when you guys who are NFT people, and I'm not talking about the gaming industry, because I haven't dived that deep, but with these NFT folks, you have stuff that is specifically art, and then you have stuff that has actual utility, and it's going to evolve more with the different sips that come out and things of that nature. So distinguishing even on these platforms you guys use to purchase NFTs should be classified as highly collectible, you know utilities, no utilities. There should be some kind of categories. They shouldn't be all bunched together as am I buying a piece of crap, or am I buying something of value? Like, there's those people providing that service should have a clear distinction between a grading system, you know what I mean, of quality. Because you got to understand there's got to be a way to judge value, like you guys were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's actually super difficult to communicate that. I think that we've got this weird. We're still in a weird place. I think it's getting better, but in the NFT space, we're in this fast paced world where people don't stop and read and research as much as we'd hope. And it's always about whatever's like the new flashy thing that's going on. So when it comes to like differentiating value or utility, you know, writing a white paper used to be the thing. Now the white papers get skimmed over. We actually went as far as, oh wow, Simpa is making my point like with visual aid right now. So they just pinned it to the top. We went and made a video white paper because we were seeing that like people would buy our NFT and then come to our Discord and be like, so what does it do? And I'm like, but why did you buy a 188 NFT without knowing what it did? Like, come on.
Yeah.
While I'm impressed and while I'm flattered, they bought it straight up for the art of the 3D NFT and not like anything. So we went with like trying to think about it, and we brainstormed, you know, how do we present stuff in a way, because you can't go to the community and say, you're not doing it right. That's not how it works. If you work in business, you know that you have to understand your users and your user experience. And if your users are not reading something you want them to read, then you have to adapt. You can't tell them to adapt, right? That's not how the market works. So
Well,
we
if you
decided to kind
provide,
of.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Good. Your
No,
video
it's all
thing
good.
is spot on. You know, the video
Yeah, so
idea is spot on. Yeah.
thanks, man. Yeah, so we decided to just do like a TLDR, right? Like a summarized high level video of the utility, and then say, you know, if you want to know more, then check out the white paper, because now we've hooked you with like there actually is value behind this thing. And I'm trying to push this to a lot of people. I'm trying to like be a proponent for video white paper stuff, because people consume that. There's a lot of people who can't read, you know, five page white papers. It's too much of a barrier to entry. And I think instead of just completely excluding those people, you know, video content is easily consumable. We do it all the time. Why not learn about your investments or your potential products that you want to buy into with that? So I'm trying to encourage people. It doesn't have to be a work of art. It just is easier to consume the content like that. But I hear you. You got some really good points, man. You came out of nowhere. I'm gonna pop a follow because I like what you're saying and you speak sense. So thank you, Ada Dolphin, for bringing someone into the space. Coxie's got a hand up, so I'm gonna let you. You go for it, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm just walking through the city. I kind of forgot exactly what my point was, but if you kind of just brief me, like what was he just talking about? He was it'll probably bring back my memory.
Oh, we covered so much since you put your hand up.
BTC seems for having that brain fogging shit, I guess. BTC, you are down with brain fogging or what?
No, it's not. I don't have brain fog problems. It's just like I'm a little less focused as usual, because
Ouch.
like usually I'll be driving around, but right now like I'm walking. So it's like,
Well, that's a good thing to start with, isn't it?
well, I mean, yeah, it's good for exercise, but it's just like it's a lot of different things that I have to focus on other than just talking. Like I'm thinking, I have to think what the dude beside me just said to me, or like all of that type of stuff. Instead, like if I was in a car, it would just be me, myself, and y'all's voices.
Yeah, I mean, look, Coxie is usually driving. I usually make a joke about it because I always hear the car in the background. But this was a nice segue to reset the room.
I mean, I just wanted to say, Coxie, that your dog is super cute, man. We need more of NFTs.
Thank you. Her name is Pepper.
Hey, I had one pepper though, but it was not a dog. It was a guinea pig.
I want to take a quick moment. Sorry, guys, to interrupt. I just want to, say a big hello to Bitfins, good friend of ours in the spaces. Always adds a lot of value and a really cool project/business, I should say. Love what they're doing, and it's nice to have them up as speaker. How you doing, Bitfins?
Yeah, I'm good. I was panicking over fucking Infura this morning, bro. Did you see the shit they did?
No, I'm out
Who
of the
cursed
loop.
this
Now I
bitch?
need to I
I'm
need to
mad.
do research. Fill me in.
So, Infura is the IPFS service provider, right? and a lot of people use them as a gateway
Yeah.
because they were like pretty quick. So they were supposed to be changing that. They're getting rid of public gateways in October, and they did it today with very little announcements. So it fucked up everything. All of our NFTs weren't showing on Pool. Most of it, pretty much anybody that used IPFS format on Pool, it was going to a wrapped gateway that wasn't working anymore. Like it basically said like this doesn't exist. And one of my devs at first thought there was a potential we would have, and a lot of people would have had to remint their tokens if there was not a way for marketplaces and stuff to adjust around the change. But we ended up getting in contact with Smog, and they changed their stuff. But there's going to be an issue where marketplaces, if they were using Infura and stuff like that, they're going to be fucked up for a little while displaying NFTs, especially on Cardano.
This is just a reminder that as much as we're on chain, the only thing that an NFT is pointing. It's a database of ownership that points elsewhere, and so IPFS is not necessarily decentralized. And
Yeah.
it's just a reminder to all of us that there's always going
I
to
have
be
a
that element. There's an element of it that isn't like completely, off chain. I mean, on chain. So, yeah, man, that's hectic, dude. That you made me stress out a little bit. As soon as you were talking, I was like googling quickly, like, wait, what are we linked with? Like, how's it going to affect us? But it looks like we're okay for
So
now.
I have a question to that, right? So I know some people use IPFS, but also um occasionally I hear people use Arweave. Like,
It's okay. So Arweave is kind of like IPFS, but they're storing it on a separate blockchain.
so they can still have this problem.
Well, I mean, hypothetically, yes. If they change their shit around, it would mess up end users. So the thing is, with Infura, they have this thing called a public gateway, which basically you could route to it for free, but they want people to start paying for it. So now what they're doing is basically from now on, you're forced, if you want to use Infura, to point to them for a gateway. To, I guess I'm talking over people's head with a gateway. A gateway is kind of just like an endpoint, so it's kind of like a website. And it's basically like a web address. So if I give you bitfins.io, you go to our main website. But if you do aquarium.bitfins.io, you're going specifically to our aquarium platform. They want you to use subdomains like bitfins.infura IPFS, whatever the hell their thing, and then your NFT hash for your IPFS stuff to route, and then they want you to pay for the traffic. So if somebody's downloading your NFT to view it, which ours would be expensive because some of ours are like 60 megabytes or more, then you'd be paying for that every single time somebody accesses that file. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that would hurt us a lot. We've we've like just put so much stuff in our NFT. We put law books and like 3D models. Like we would just be, that would be painful, man.
Yeah, that's
But
us
it
too,
just,
because we've
once
got
again,
our newer collections. We've got the 3D model, and then we've got the 4K video, which is another 50 megabytes, and then we have an 8K photo screenshot, which is another 30 megabytes. So imagine somebody just clicks through all three of those when they open up.
ecosystem is bridging and bringing people together and being the
made right now. So they just pinned it to the top. We went and made a video white paper because we were seeing that like completely, you know, off chain. I mean, on chain. So like a nightmare. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a lot of
it was going to a wrapped gateway.
like there actually is value behind this thing, and I'm trying to push this to a lot of people. I'm trying to like be a proponent for video white paper stuff because people consume that. There's a lot of people who can't read, you know, five page white papers. It's too much of a barrier to entry. And I think instead of just completely excluding those people, you know, video content is easily consumable. We do it all the time. Why not learn about your investments or your potential products that you want to buy into with that? So I'm trying to encourage people. It doesn't have to be a work of art. It just is easier to consume the content like that. But I hear you. You got some really good points, man. You came out of nowhere. I'm gonna pop a follow because I like what you're saying and you speak sense. So thank you, Ada Dolphin, for bringing someone into the space. Coxie's got a hand up, so I'm gonna let you. You go for it, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm just walking through the city. I kind of forgot exactly what my point was, but if you kind of just brief me, like what was he just talking about? He was it'll probably bring back my memory.
Oh, we
FS service provider, right?
Pop a follow because I like what you're saying and you speak sense. So thank you, Ada Dolphin, for bringing someone into the space. Coxie's got a hand up, so I'm gonna let you. You go for it, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm just walking through the city. I kind of forgot exactly what my point was, but if you kind of
Fira and stuff like that, they're gonna be fucked up for a little while.
The car in the background, but this was a nice segue to reset the room.
I mean, I just wanted to say, Coxie, that your dog is super cute, man. We need more of NFTs.
Thank
you, Fira and stuff like it was going to a wrapped gateway that wasn't working anymore. Like it basically said like this doesn't exist. And one of my devs at first thought there was a potential we would have, and a lot of people would have had to remint their tokens if there was not a way for marketplaces and stuff to adjust around the change. But we ended up getting in contact with Smog, and they changed their stuff. But there's going to be an issue where marketplaces, if they were using Infura and stuff like that, they're going to be fucked up for a little while displaying NFTs, especially on Cardano.
This is just a reminder that as much as we're on chain, the only thing that an NFT is pointing. It's a database of ownership that points elsewhere, and so IPFS is not necessarily decentralized. And it's just a reminder to all of us that there's always going to be that element. There's an element of it that isn't like completely, you know, off chain. I mean, on chain. So, yeah, man, that's hectic, dude. That you made me stress out a little bit. As soon as you were talking, I was like googling quickly, like, wait, what are we linked with? Like, how's it going to affect us? But it looks like we're okay.
So I have a question to that, right? So I know some people use IPFS, but also occasionally I hear people use Arweave. Like
it's okay. So Arweave is kind of like IPFS, but they're storing it on a separate blockchain.
So they can still have this problem?
Well, I mean, hypothetically, yes. If they changed their shit around, it would mess up end users. So the thing is, with Infura, they have this thing called a public gateway, which basically you could route to it for free, but they want people to start paying for it. So now what they're doing is basically from now on, you're forced, if you want to use Infura, to point to them for a gateway. To I guess I'm talking over people's head with a gateway. A gateway is kind of just like an endpoint, so it's kind of like a website. And it's basically like a web address. So if I give you bitfins.io, you go to our main website. But if you do aquarium.bitfins.io, you're going specifically to our aquarium platform.
A big hello to Bitfins.
And then we've got the 4K video, which is another 50 megabytes. And then we have an 8K photo screenshot, which is another Fira and stuff like that. They're going to be fucked up for a little while displaying NFTs, especially on Cardano.
This is just a reminder that as much as we're on chain, the only thing that an NFT is pointing. It's a database of ownership that points elsewhere, and so IPFS is not necessarily decentralized. And
Yeah.
it's just a reminder to all of us that there's always going
I
to
have
be
a
that element. There's an element of it that isn't like completely, off chain. I mean, on chain. So, yeah, man, that's hectic, dude. That you made me stress out a little bit. As soon as you were talking, I was like googling quickly, like, wait, what are we linked with? Like, how's it going to affect us? But it looks like we're okay for
So
now.
I have a question to that, right? So I know some people use IPFS, but also um occasionally I hear people use Arweave. Like,
It's okay. So Arweave is kind of like IPFS, but they're storing it on a separate blockchain.
so they can still have this problem.
Well, I mean, hypothetically, yes. If they changed their shit around, it would mess up end users. So the thing is, with Infura, they have this thing called a public gateway, which basically you could route to it for free, but they want people to start paying for it. So now what they're doing is basically from now on, you're forced, if you want to use Infura, to point to them for a gateway. I guess I'm talking over people's head with a gateway. A gateway is kind of just like an endpoint, so it's kind of like a website. And it's basically like a web address. So if I give you bitfins.io, you go to our main website. But if you do aquarium.bitfins.io, you're going specifically to our aquarium platform. They want you to use subdomains like bitfins.infura.ipfs, whatever the hell their thing, and then your NFT hash for your IPFS stuff to route, and then they want you to pay for the traffic. So if somebody's downloading your NFT to view it, which ours would be expensive because some of ours are like 60 megabytes or more, then you'd be paying for that every single time somebody accesses that file. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that would hurt us a lot. We've we've like just put so much stuff in our NFT. We put law books and like 3D models. Like we would just be, that would be painful, man.
Yeah, that's
But
us
it
too,
just,
because we've
once
got
again,
our newer collections. We've got the 3D model, and then we've got the 4K video, which is another 50 megabytes, and then we have an 8K photo screenshot, which is another 30 megabytes. So imagine somebody just clicks through all three of those when they open up. That's one person, and you're already fucked, let alone multiple.
yeah, man, that's rough, and it just is, once again, that's just a reminder that there's always, I've been looking at, like, since we were in gaming, and maybe you can also speak to this. We talked about this a while ago. I think we had a space where we talked about, open policy, changing NFTs, or the spectrum that is decentralization, and how much of it we need to be decentralized for NFTs, and how much of it is, can we keep off chain. So really what you're saying
Right.
is the ownership element of an NFT, that is 100% on chain. So the sovereign ownership of the thing, linked to the policy, is pointing at, this person's wallet, saying they are the owner, right? And then it's pointing at the image that is in an IPFS server, and regardless of whether that's an IPFS server or just like on someone's server on their website, it doesn't really matter. Like yeah, there's a degree of like editability that you lose when you're on IPFS, but either way, those are not decentralized. That IPFS hosting is paid for, like you've just kind of illustrated. And whether someone wants to believe that it's decentralized or not doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you could have a broken link if someone doesn't pay their bill, and that IPFS isn't up for 50 years. You'll always have the registry entry of ownership on the blockchain that says you own this NFT, but the NFT won't visually look like anything because the image itself is not on the blockchain. And so then it's kind
Yeah.
of like, it begs the question, why can't you do something like, server-side NFTs? So you have the NFT where, once again, everything's on the blockchain as far as the ownership goes, but it points to something very malleable on a server that you can change easily. And you can also, the difference is obviously IPFS, you can't just change out the file. So if something goes wrong on a server-side NFT, you can fix it. But in IPFS, if like the hosting goes down, I don't think you can just kind of pop it back up again. Like that's it. So
No,
it's an
you can't. Yeah,
interesting.
you'd have to. The only fix you could do for that would be if you can change your metadata and completely replace the hash link with a new hash link.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's a lot of people are very pedantic around this. Like, it's IPFS or nothing, And then there's in gaming, I see a lot of potential for not going IPFS or keeping like open policy to be able to do cool things like transmuting or changing or evolving NFTs, and it's something that we've touched on in the past. But I think the biggest uproar is usually when people don't quite understand that. They go, yeah, but then that's not decentralized. I'm like, dude, it wasn't decentralized anyway. Like the only thing that was decentralized was the ownership log, like the thing that says that your wallet is holding it. It's just an interesting topic because I think a lot of people don't realize that in NFTs. They think that their picture is on the blockchain or something, which it isn't. So, yeah, I guess not really something that is super open to conversation with everyone. I see Esco's up. How's it going, man? Esco, you had your hand up for a second? Did you want to say something?
He's probably just fucking with you. He always does that.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, man. So I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think it kind of also lends itself towards when you mention something along the lines of like decentralization is a spectrum. Then it begs the question of how much of your product needs to be on chain anyway. Like how much of what you're doing, where does the blockchain add value to what you're doing, and where can you take from other places? In gaming, Web 2 always talk about blockchain games like they're terrible, and blockchain games always talk about Web 2 like it's terrible. And really, I think that there's a solid middle ground of stuff that Web 2 is doing really well, and that blockchain hasn't got right yet. And there's a bunch of stuff that in our toolbox that we have that Web 2 games haven't deployed. In a fairness aspect. So I mean, I don't know. I'm interested to know if that's something that you guys are interested in, or is that just like a dev conversation and it's not really like open to the public, and there isn't as much concern around that. I'd be interested to know what people think.
Yeah, I just want to revisit and see if Escobar's here, and I guess we can dive into that.
Yeah. Sorry,
He's big.
I had to run outside to grab something and blah blah. But so you guys were talking about the whole what the portion that I heard before I had to put the phone down was the whole IPFS hash link. For example, on like Pinata or some other kind of like hosting server centralized situation, blah blah blah. Recently, I mean, probably like 5 months ago, 6 months ago, I learned about Arweave. If you guys have heard about that, and that's another really like valuable um, way to make something permanent that is still it's like what it is. It's like hosting but on a blockchain, and you can have an IPFS that is actually going to be permanent while using their services. But yeah, I just wanted to chime that a little bit in.
Yeah.
Right before you. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say. I mean, even with Arweave, this is the thing, right? Because I mean, we're all on Cardano. If Cardano's technology goes down, literally everything on Cardano is gone. So, I mean, it still goes back to the central point. If your shit's in one place, there's a very high chance at some point you're going to be screwed in some capacity because of that platform. Like, I think it just goes back to doing your stuff. Like, I make it a very important point that, like, yes, part of our NFT functions are the augmented reality and stuff, but if something completely happens to IPFS and our shit got completely fried, we could re-upload those to like an app and give you augmented reality in an app, and you can still use your tokens inside of our aquariums and still have your fish and everything. If that happens with a profile picture project, you're probably SOL. So that's stuff people need to think about when they're buying stuff, because that is a thing. Especially on Cardano with your policy lock, you can't change your shit. You'd have to burn the tokens and remake an entire new collection if your policy's locked.
Really
and to burn it, you're just sending it to a dead wallet.
Can you really burn tokens on Cardano? Like,
Well, no.
If your policy is still open, that's the only time.
First off, is if the policy is open and you have the keys to it. Because I hear a lot about some projects. No, let's not say any names, but some projects, advertise this whole like, oh, we're gonna burn, this NFT and this and that, and I'm like, no, you can't. You first of all, you don't have the key to that policy, and that policy was already closed. So you know what I mean, things like that. But yeah, it's a tricky situation. At least with for example, if I had a collection, right? And open policy, and of course have the keys to my own thing. If anything was to happen, I could, even though it would be unquote not the original or whatever, I could still um, have a mitigation plan. You know what I mean? Which is still way better than just being like SOL. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I
Yeah.
totally, I totally understand. You know what I mean? Like you could still, honor something to the holders of the original NFT because you have access to that initial collection, whether it's messed up or not or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
better, it's better than nothing. I know that the other day I was in a space with like Maza and Job, and they were bringing up the fact that, like, in the case that somebody gets the key and then they decide to go in there and just continue to mint more than the original collect, blah 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 blah. That to me is like saying, like, in the case that somebody gets one of your fucking wallet seed phrases. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand that obviously anything is possible, but that's the equivalent of saying, what if somebody got the seed phrase to my main wallet that I have all my ADA in or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, it's up to you to protect that in terms of, it's a big responsibility when you put up a project
Well,
together because you're responsible for everybody else's
I
shit.
don't know if you heard the conversation. That was a concern with Virtua because they don't have a lot of keys for the size of what Virtua is supposed to be.
Right. And what was that project that recently had like 12 keys or something?
I'm pretty sure that was Virtua.
Yeah. They have like 12 keys or something like that. And
Yeah,
like
for
out of those,
something that's supposed
I
to be
mean,
like
and
hundreds of thousands of users.
right. But at the same time, also, if you think about it, I think that's like a catch 22, right? Because um, the more keys that you have, the more human tendency you're adding into the equation. In terms of human tendency, I mean that could lead to vulnerabilities, and in terms of somebody just deciding to be a dick and just ruin your whole project. One single person could get in their feelings or something like that and have access to this type of stuff, and just fuck up the whole project. In the other hand, you want to make sure that enough that it's not just one person, like a Mount Gox don't happen, that if one fucking person dies, the whole thing falls off a cliff. So, it's a catch 22 in aspects of that. So I think that um there should be other mechanisms created when it comes to more of a multi-sig type of thing. Maybe a multi-sig based smart contract that is that and this is probably somebody, please pick up this idea and execute. Create like a digital safe vault that, let's just say that you can, mint, you mint the keys and blah blah, but it's protected by a multi-sig, and it is, even though it's on the blockchain, it's not visible through the external viewing of that asset and something like that. So then you can have a group of people with in that multi-sig requirement to access this, but they don't necessarily actually have the keys. The general consensus has to be, okay, we all agree to pull out these keys to then make a change or whatever to the overall project, but not one single person can do it on their own if a general consensus is not greater than whatever percent you assign at the very beginning of this venture.
We've got something similar that we've been, we're busy putting together a CIP. We were kind of governing our royalty income into a smart contract wallet that would then distribute outwards. And one of the problems is royalties are paid from marketplaces, and marketplaces don't pay ADA with hash. So if you had a smart contract wallet receiving ADA without hash, it would just lock the ADA. So you can't do that. And we thought that was really weird, because now we've got to go through the process of setting up like a custodial wallet and manually paying into, along with hash, into like a smart contract wallet, which kind of then brings in a human element, which we didn't want. So we're kind of putting together, a CIP to encourage a change in how we work, when all payments or formal payments of royalty should be paid with hash, so that people can be a little bit more trustless and have a little bit less of a human element Because like you say, not that we have any intention of doing anything to sabotage our own project, but that's you never do. No one ever has that. I think the point of blockchain is that you should try to be avoiding relying on things that in the past in Web 2, all the problems that have happened in Web 2, most of the problems have happened because there is a human element. It's very rarely the technology that gives in. It's usually someone uses their power in the bank or at a home affairs or wherever it is to print out a fake ID or a passport and steal someone's money. It's like, how much power are we going to give to the human element, and how much are we trusting a really solid, transparent, and inspectable smart contract that everyone can see that is going to do what it's going to do and has no bias.
And that's
And so I
and
think,
that's the whole thing. Like you're saying it right there, right? That is what unquote a smart contract is supposed to solve. That's when I originally came into this space. That's the whole thing I heard for months and months and months and months, is that everything is a smart contract protocol type of situation, that it takes out the human element. So then when it comes, I remember Charles preaching about this. When it comes to lending and this and that, there would be like not discrimination towards some sort of like ethnic background and this and that. Like I remember it so clearly to this day. It's just smart contracts, takes the
Yo,
human
Esco,
element out of it. Yeah, go ahead.
my bad. I just cut you off. Finish what you were saying.
No. Like it's just everything in here should be done with taking out as much of the human element out of it, because as Wolf said, that's usually what leads to the exploits, unquote, Luna and the bridge, and the Coxie situation we got going on here with mixing.
Hold
Hey,
on, bro.
real quick, Hawkman,
Wait, hold on.
before you talk, is it gonna be on topic or not? Because I have something that's on
No, it
topic.
is on topic with what he just said. All I'm saying
I
is,
knew you were coming
All
for me,
right.
so I had to get on top of
no,
you.
no, no. I'm just saying, if you want to say what the exploit is with Coxie and all of that, specifically say Solana. Coxie did not get hacked. Like, do not put that FUD out there in the universe at all.
That's why he's on Cardano, because the Coxie tokens got hacked in Solana.
Cock man, he said cock man. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
don't forget,
Tyler.
Kotsky is just a bird dog or a chicken dog. Yeah.
I'm
But
sorry, I
anyways,
had
let's not
to.
deviate. Let's not deviate too much. But what are you
Yeah,
saying, Tyler?
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, as much as people don't like funded companies and stuff in Web3, the whole idea of having a smart contract system is literally identical to having a board of directors for a company, right? You have the CEO, but they're not the all-seeing, like, yo, what I say goes. Like, you have to answer to like probably 6 to 10 other people that have a vested interest because they have money in the game, and you're basically sitting at a round table trying to argue with each other to get decisions made for something. It makes it less efficient, but lo and behold, it's not one person making decisions. So it's pretty much the same thing.
yeah,
And
and to add to that, it's everyone thinks that that's to protect the players or the buyers, and they don't really realize it's to protect the project. That CEO is lucky to have that sounding board, right? He's lucky he has the board, because if he goes and makes some random decision on the fly without bouncing it out around everyone, the buyers will leave. And so, like, you guys have seen it when someone makes a stupid decision or does something wrong, community will turn on them, and a game is limited to what its community thinks it is. Like, if people don't like something, the court of public opinion, they'll all just leave, and that'll be the end of the project. So people need to understand that trust, this element, that smart contract, removing greed, removing temptation, removing any of those kind of things that might be there with technology that can operate and do what it needs to do fairly, that's protecting the project more than it is even protecting the people who have invested or are consumers in that equation. So, like, it shouldn't be a hard thing to sell to projects, that they should be trying to make use of trustless tech. Yeah.
multi-sig trustless systems for anything and everything that has to do with preserving trust. And I was just gonna make another reference. Like a safety deposit box at the bank. I have a key, and the bank has the other key, right? And ultimately, the contents was being kept secured. But before that, I have to sign in to be able to go into the safe. So you see that there's like this, and this is more like obviously like a physical mechanical aspect of it, but it all ties into, you know, the multi um, a factor attached to the whole thing to then get to the 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 content, or, you know, in this case, making an alteration or a decision.
Dude, totally off topic. I was just scrolling Twitter. It says it's 2022 and Tesla still aren't stopping for children. And I see this test dummy run where this Tesla is going like 80 miles an hour. And you just see this kid mannequin get fucking decimated in the test run because it doesn't stop.
Dude, that was straight up me as a kid. I got hit by a car as a kid. That gives me like chills, man. It's hectic. Not by a smart car. Once again, that's kind of on topic, but not making the point we want to make. That's the technology you don't want to trust.
That's what
Doesn't
happens
stop the
when
kids.
you have somebody leading a team by themselves with one key and they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They run over kids.
Yeah.
Yo,
Well, to try circle back a little bit to like core to, I mean, obviously we're talking about gaming. I'm happy to follow the flow because this has been something that I've been super passionate about, embracing like parts of you know, blockchain technology that add value to a project. There's one thing that I say repetitively in like spaces a lot is you don't have to use the blockchain everywhere, but use the blockchain where it adds value, and that's the trustless element and what you can do there with multi-sig, with smart contracts. That is a massive value add that you don't get in a lot of other spots, right? So that's one area where I'd add it. I think that the other thing is probably there is going to always come down to an element of human trust, especially in like a gaming project. You know, there's going to be a ton of your project that happens off chain. There's going to be like a directorship. There's going to be decisions that happen, and then it comes down to like your track record. How what are the values you built your project on? What is your why? What is your reason for existing? What is, you know, how do you treat your community? How do you approach decisions, fairness, power balance? You know, those are the things that like at the end of the day, the technology can only take it so far, and then at that point you are relying on the team. And that's when I love that someone brought up a board of directors in multisig, because you can still put in safeguards against any one person having too much say. That's a super important thing when you're working with a project. Is like, you know, we have sparring sessions with our ideas internally, and I'm sure big projects or anyone who's kind of like got a lot of interest from people should be having that. You know, I expect to be challenged by my team. Stephen is very quiet in the spaces today because he's listening to all the conversations. Stephen, you there, bro? Still awake? Still with us?
yo,
Yo,
Wolf.
yo,
There he is.
yo, of course.
There he is. So he'll attest to it. We have like sparring sessions with our ideas. You know, like I'll say I think this is good, and someone else will challenge it, and someone will say community's perspective, and then we'll ask some core people in the community. At one point, and this is like fessing up to something. One point early in our project, we were having a lot of trouble like figuring out how to go about funding what we needed to fund. Because we really didn't want to ask the community to buy an NFT so that we could build out a project, or at least build out something without a proof of concept. And so we really wanted to fund the proof of concept ourselves. We felt like the onus was on us to at least go that far before taking a dime from the community, but we didn't have the funding at the time. And so we had to look around and ask around, and like, you know, and eventually, you know, one of the topics on the table was, hey, listen, Polygon will throw money at you if you move to Polygon. And that, you know, that's for your dream to stay alive. You know, at some point you have to consider it. And we didn't want to, but at the time we were thinking like, we need to make this project come to life. We need to have a proof of concept. Maybe we need to go to Matic. Maybe we need to do something there. This was early days, by the way. And we spent about a couple of weeks, and we jumped in. We had some early alpha testers. The game was super like grainy and bad at the time. And we had like, jumped in a voice chat with some of our early testers, and we asked them like, you know, hey, I'm going to speak to you about something. How would you feel about this? How would you feel about that? And I mentioned a few of these problems to the community, and immediately the community sourced like solutions, whether it be contacts or whether it be introductions to people. And eventually we didn't have to move. And it was just interesting because we weren't operating in isolation. We weren't making these executive decisions thinking that we had all the information. We realized that like asking what people thought led us to like a solution that allowed us to stay somewhere. And I think that that's such an important thing. So many of us are developing technologies in isolation, not realizing that we're all building the same thing, or solving problems in isolation, not realizing that our peers have solved these problems, and also just not having enough sparring sessions, or not like challenging each other on what we're doing in a constructive way, in order to like have a good value set and be sticking to our why and our purpose. Ours in Cardano is kind of building a bridge, attracting people to the space. And I think like that's been a powerful thing. There's a lot of the technology does a lot for you. There's also a part of the human element that you need to also pay attention to when you're getting behind a project. Like, what is the track record? Who are the people? What is their why? What are their values? What are you seeing? You can't trust all of that, but it is super important to at least look at it, because in a game, not everything is trustless. You just have to kind of start measuring up the credentials and what people are delivering. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I see hands up, Coxie and Esco. Steven, did you keep track of who put hands up first?
Like, no, Esco can go as long as he wants. I just wanted to say I'm about to get on the train, so like I may lose service, and
Wow.
I don't know. But if your space is still up, I'll definitely pop back in if I can. But I just wanted to, give a proper goodbye if needed.
See, guys, this is how Coxie currency rugs. Just be aware of that beforehand.
Oh Lord. Before I hand over to Esco, this is a little
Currently
tradition.
going down the deepest escalator for like the deepest MARTA station in Atlanta right now. So yeah, I most likely am going to get rugged.
No worries.